Hello everybody, this is Will Sellenrod from Collector Chassis, and welcome to another exciting episode of Story Behind the Collector. Normally what we do is interview someone who has a lot of cars, but in this case we're going to interview a collector who's got a very unique one-of-one car, and I'm very excited to introduce Anthony. Anthony, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Will.
And we're sitting in a very rare one-of-one car. And Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. This is a 2014 Lucra. It's called an LC470. It does have an FS designation. It is a one-of-one. It was built for a very wealthy client of Lucra's. The second owner. It was commissioned very, very differently than how the other Lucras were made. It's 6 inches longer than every Lucra on the planet. It does have a way more powerful engine than the Lucras do. The original owner pretty much checked off every box when he had this built. The build price of this was approximately $50,000 to $60,000 more than the other Lucras that were built. And I gotta say, it's a blast to drive.
Well, I gotta say, sitting in here and looking through this windshield, I mean, the hood is just so dramatic. It's pretty cool when you see the high fenders, the hood scoop, and you see the vents in the hood. It just makes you feel like you are in something very special.
Feels like a vintage race car to me. Just reminiscent of the old Jaguar D-types or the Listers.
Mm-hmm. And there's no hard top, so it's
nothing.
But you know, you sit low enough that a windshield's high or head.
It just skims the top of your head. But, if you're doing 190 in this thing, you're gonna feel it.
I can imagine.
The theoretical, I guess, top speed of this car is north of 205 or 210.
Wow.
I just haven't been there yet. So, but it is geared for that speed.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get out and show, and you can walk us around and show us the engine and all the cool details that make this car special. These doors are so incredibly light. I don't even know how to describe how light they are, but they are just, this whole car is
1,900 pounds.
1,900 pounds, carbon fiber.
So, just off the bat, the 8-port exhaust, 4 and 4, no street legal Lucra has that. They either have 2-port exhaust or a Cobra style side pipe. Because this car was 6 inches longer than the other ones, they had a lot more room, so they made 4.
Well, this is a lot better than a side pipe, right? Because when you're getting out of the car, those side pipes get hot.
Oh yeah. There are 2 race variants of this body shape and the size. They're not street legal though, but they do have the 4-port exhaust. They do have the same engine, but like I said, they're not street legal. The value is a little bit less because you cannot ever register it. There's no VIN on it.
Okay.
Most Lucras have the gill slits over here, and then they also have the matching gill slits here. The original owner wanted these stainless, polished stainless.
And this is all open. I mean, I can look in there and see completely into the engine bay.
It's wide open. This is a true race car. I mean, everything's wide open. There's not much safety on this car. There is no insulation on this car. You hear every pebble, every rock. Hence the lightweight. It's stripped down. There's no traction control. There's no nannies. There's no stability control. There's no anti-lock brakes. There's not even power brakes. It's a Formula One type hydraulic setup. There is a power assisted steering, but it is a rack and pinion, so it's a very, very tight steering.
So you really have to respect the vehicle, right? Because otherwise you're in trouble really quick.
750 horsepower and 1,900 pounds, all going to the rear wheel, you have to know what you're doing and you have to respect it. The car wants to go sideways at every moment.
And how many speed transmission is it?
It's a 5-speed transmission. Okay. It's beefed up for the horsepower.
Yeah.
But serviceability, it's American parts. This is made in the United States with all American parts, so everything is very, very easy service.
Well, let's take a look at the engine. I'm curious to see what lies under this long hood.
Because it's carbon fiber, it's
the
even
whole
whole thing. It's half the car. I'm gonna lift it up by myself. It's not that
Now, a lot of people are going to think, well, this is based on like a chassis from a Corvette or
No.
something, but this is completely hand-built.
Completely hand-built. There really is no chassis. It's a carbon fiber monocoque. So the floors, everything is carbon fiber in this car. This is all one-piece carbon fiber. There is some steel reinforcement. You see that about 5-inch tube that kind of runs. It's a ring that runs on the outside of the car. It ends about here to tie the roll cage in. But you could see over here, we're sitting in between that ring structure, not on top of a chassis. So it's just more of a protective cage around us. And the floor is the floor. Right underneath that is the ground.
Wow. So I mean, look at the intricacy of this frame. It's definitely all tubular then.
Yep.
And the welds are beautiful.
Yeah, they all hand welded at Lucra's facility in Southern California. MagnaFlow built the exhaust for all the late model Lucras.
Okay.
So everything was made for this car in the factory. It's not anything aftermarket. There's nothing aftermarket on this car. This is just this is how it came from the factory.
So how many Lucras were built?
Approximately 63, I believe, give or take one or two.
And they're all around still?
Some were destroyed because
I can imagine.
The horsepower,
1,900 pounds and 700 horsepower.
People got a little overzealous with them. A handful of them are race only, so they can't be street legal.
Okay.
There are 2 generations of Lucra. The first generation was a little more of a kit car. Even though it was built by Lucra, you could buy it as a rolling chassis if you want, or a rolling body, and then put your own engine in it. How you would differentiate that car versus the newer, the second generation is little rectangle here, and the tail lights were actually sitting on top of the body, almost like a 1959 Porsche Speedster, looking little oval tail lights. Then they kind of remolded the whole entire car. They really changed the aerodynamics of it. They put the gill slits in it. The tail lights are molded inside the car. And they went much less kit car looking and much more of a production car. The second iteration of this car, I believe they made about 20 of them, or 25, and then 25 or 30 of the original like Mark I, you would call it.
Okay. Well, when we were talking when I first got here, this car is kind of special, right? So what's the story behind this? Because it was owned by a billionaire who actually funded Lucra?
Yeah, so when I was buying this car, if you look on the build plate, it does say 1 of 1. Not number 7.
Yeah, I see the build plate right here.
Yeah, not number 15 of 63. And that threw me off because I knew that the Lucras were numbered. And by not having this numbered, I was really confused as to where this kind of sat in the production line of Lucra. I did have to reach out to the original owner of Lucra. I reached out to the original owner of the car, and I was able to get in touch with the shop manager at Lucra. And I got all my answers. After speaking with the owner of Lucra, he did say that a very wealthy client wanted a Lucra. He was somewhat of an investor in the company, and he just wanted a Lucra built just for him. And
but obviously one with all the options.
All the options. So they had to remold the whole entire front end of the car because he wanted it 6 inches longer, and it's all up here. By stretching out the wheelbase, it does handle better on the track.
And it looks a lot. It's proportional. I mean, it's a beautiful body.
Yeah. I mean, the engine does sit back almost 2 feet behind the front axle. The transmission's kind of in our lap over there. The fuel cell is over the back wheels. It is 55% in the rear. It's 45 in the front. It is considered mid-engine just because of how far set back everything is. Yeah,
well, when I look at the engine, then I look at the air intake and how far forward that goes, you really start to get a sense for where this engine sits in the car. Look how long this intake is here, Anthony. That's crazy.
If you go from the throttle body all the way to the front, it's about 4.5, almost 5 feet.
Is that right? So how are you using this car then? Like a weekend, evening?
It's a weekend car. I like to open it up once in a while, but nothing too crazy.
And how on earth did you find a car like the Lucra? I mean, it's such a car that no one really knows the name. I've never heard of Lucra. Not that I am all-knowing, but I think a lot of public people, haven't really heard of the name.
There was an episode of How It's Made, I believe, on History Channel. 30-minute episode on the Lucra. I have seen that in the past. There was a Top Gear episode, American Top Gear, with Tanner Faust and those other guys, and it's called the American Supercar episode. There was a Lucra, not this one, but there was a Lucra in that episode.
Okay.
And I just kind of saw the car. I saw the carbon fiber, the lightweightness of it, and
you were hooked.
I was hooked, but they never go for sale. So I sold a '66 Mustang that I've had for a very long time. I sold a '65 Plymouth Fury. So I was looking for the next toy.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about maybe getting a Lamborghini.
Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, all the traditional names. Yeah.
And this thing came for sale. I found it originally in the DuPont registry, and it was over at Bugatti Lamborghini of St. Louis. I called them up. They called me back, and I was in St. Louis the following week just for the day. I flew in for a few hours, and we made a deal, but not before calling the owner of Lucra, speaking to the original owner of this car, figuring out why this was one of one. Then I got the whole entire backstory of he was an investor. This was kind of after the production was done. They just built this one for him. And they wanted to continue with this longer style. Unfortunately, they did go out of business.
Lucra went out of business, and just lack of funding or sales or
lack
the
of funding,
typical.
And I've heard, you hear stories, maybe something like a DeLorean type story. There's misappropriation of funds. You're never going to get a straight story, but I know there was a lawsuit, people suing people for money, and
that's usually how they go down, and they go down in flames when they go down.
That was it.
That's like DeLorean went down in flames.
Exactly
there were so many stories.
I've heard stories about this company. So, but they did make a beautiful race car, though.
They sure did.
While they were at it.
Well, the carbon fiber is just absolutely gorgeous, and looking at these headers, they're pretty cool. The way they're designed, and going into the 4-stack exhaust. Well, maybe we should start this up. What do you think? And just let our viewers hear how this engine sounds. But 700, how many horsepower?
Right now I got some pump gas in here, so mid 750-ish.
Okay. When you say pump gas, it's what, 93?
93, yes. And another beauty about this car is because it's really a race car.
Yeah.
There's no clutch safety or brake safety. You can just start the car right up.
And it could be in gear right now?
That's the one safety it has. It can't be in gear.
Okay.
But you don't have to put in the brake. You don't have to put in the clutch or anything like that.
And the key's on the left, which is typical race car.
And if you look at the key, it's a race car key.
Yeah.
It's just a little. Nothing safety on that or security on that at all. Just that. Modern digital gauges. I don't know if you saw it. Well, if you saw the. They look analog. They're really digital.
Oh yeah. Very cool. And you got the push button start right there in the center.
That's it.
So I can see there's a trunk actually in a race car, which is kind of a rare thing. So how big is this trunk?
Larger than you could imagine.
Wow.
By not having a chassis, just a carbon fiber monocoque, the trunk is the whole entire depth from top to bottom. So let's open it up and take a look. I'll show you. So like I said, you have the fuel cells in here, but you could wedge a small golf bag in here if you really wanted to. You could easily go grocery shopping. I fit 5 or 6 bags of groceries right back here. The depth, it's almost 2 feet there.
How great is that? You could take this race car to the grocery store. That's just got to be another great excuse to take it out on the road.
Always. Always. Yep.
That's huge. And again, everything's carbon fiber. You can just see it where there's no padding.
Yeah, and even just you lift this up here and right there.
Yeah.
You can see the mold seam right over here.
Oh yeah.
It's just.
But no spare tire, right? So you got to make sure.
No spare tire. They do have the run flats inside there, just if you got to get home or anything. But otherwise, no.
Well, what about parts on this car? How do you service it? Are these American parts, or are they all foreign parts?
They are. I'm not sure of the percentage, but it's mostly American. Perfect example. The gas strut on my driver door was maybe lost some gas. It was a little weak. It wasn't staying open. I did get in touch with the old Lucra shop manager, and he told me exactly where to order it from McMaster car catalog.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was, I mean, I did have to remove the ends
Mhm.
from here because they were custom, I guess, billet for this car, custom milled.
Oh
I
yeah.
just unscrewed them, screwed them on the new gas tube,
Mhm.
and it was installed. So it's yes, parts are relatively easy, except the body. Obviously, the body is
Yeah.
molded carbon fiber. You're not going to get a new body on this car. Everything else, from the headlights to the fuel cell to everything, is just
Even the wheels, are those the special design for this car?
Well, yes, Forge Line, very popular,
right.
expensive wheel manufacturer, made these wheels for Lucra. So you won't see these on any other cars, but they were made at Forge Line.
Mhm.
We have the headlights, running lights, headlights. We have the fog lights, and then we have the bright lights. We have the trunk release. We have driver heated seats, and we have passenger heated seats.
When I look at the front of this, Anthony, this is pretty cool because this is all open. I see you got a tow bar hook in there, the spoiler, and then what's in these other vents?
So in the passenger side one, there is an oil cooler in there.
Okay.
A lot of oil, almost 10-quart reservoir tank.
Wow.
It's a dry sump system.
Mhm.
No oil pan, just a big jug of oil sitting
Oh my
there.
gosh.
And in this one, behind this
Down
opening
here?
here, on the driver's side, we have the power steering radiator to cool the power steering. Heavy track use, you really could cook that power steering.
Mhm. And then when we talked about that intake, that 5-foot intake, that's drawing air right in here, right?
It sucks it in right from there, and the faster you go, the more air gets sucked in.
Yeah, and it's such a long hood, which is kind of cool because hot air robs the engine of power, right? So
Correct.
you want the cooler air, and I gotta believe this far forward, you're gonna get some cooler air.
Plenty of cool air here, and it's sucking it right from the outside. It's not like an air filter tucked under the hood somewhere. It's all right here. The air filter is just a few inches right behind this opening right here.
Okay, very cool. Well, I just love the sweeping lines in this car, and I really appreciate you taking the time to show us your Lucra. This is a very rare car, very exciting car, I'm sure, to own and to drive. I don't think you could probably go anywhere without a crowd forming every time you park, right?
It always happens. It always happens.
Well, and that's what we want to do for our viewers, is bring them unique cars, collectors who have unique cars. So is this going to be the start of more unique cars for you? Is that going to be your, I guess, mantra to go for very rare cars in your collection?
It is. I do enjoy the ones of ones, or the one of 50s, or the one of 100.
Okay.
I do enjoy the uniqueness of those cars. There's always intricacies and weird little gremlins in these cars, but they're definitely well worth it.
Yeah, they almost have a personality, right?
That's
because
exactly
they're not
it.
production cars.
That's exactly it. You can see where the person was turning that nut or turning that bolt, and you really see and appreciate the hand-built nature of these cars.
Yeah. Well, very cool. So thank you very much.
You're
Enjoyed
welcome,
talking to you, and enjoy your Lucra.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Have a great one.